Welcome back to Through the Big Book with Dr. Ben. My name is Ben and I'm an alcoholic. We will be wrapping up how it works today. Can I get a hallelujah? Right? Oh my goodness, this 4-step is really something. But we are almost done. This is our last chunk. So let's just dive right in here. We're on the last paragraph of page 68. It says now about sex. Many of us needed an overhauling there. But above all, we try to be sensible in this question. It's so easy to get way off the track. Here we find human opinions running to extremes, absurd extremes perhaps. One set of voices cry that sex is a lust of our lower nature, a base necessity of procreation. Then we have the voices who cry for sex and more sex, who bewail the institution of marriage, who think that most of the troubles of the race are traceable to sex causes. They think we don't have enough of it, or that it isn't the right kind. They see its significance everywhere. One school would allow man no flavor for his fare, and the other would have us all on a straight pepper diet. What does that mean? So scientifically, water follows salt, right? So what they used to think is that if you ate a lot of salt, it would make you fat, and people wanted to look thin then, and a lot of people still want to look thin now, right? But then that was like it was just a big thing, and so they would eat less salt because it would help you to have less inflammation and lower your blood pressure and things like that, but it isn't going to relate generally to obesity. But that's why they talk about that. They're saying cut your salt. You would cut your salt because you want to look your best for the ladies. That's what they're saying there. So it says, we want to stay out of this controversy. We do not want to be the arbiter of anybody's sex conduct. What is an arbiter? An arbiter is a judge. So what that's saying is I'm not to be the arbiter of anybody's sex conduct, including yours. I do not, and AA is telling me, I am not to care whether, you are into heterosexual or homosexual or into animals or your family or whatever. I mean, things are so broad today that I can't even begin to comment on all the varieties in which people explore their sex life. But you know what I'm saying here. I don't care what it is you're into. It does not matter. I'm not to be the judge of it. I might have thoughts. I'll be like, man, that's, this or that. But I'm not going to say that, especially to a sponsee, because I'm not going to be the judge of them. I don't want somebody to judge me for my sex life. And so I don't judge anybody else's. And that's backed up right here. So really, if I'm going to unpack on that a little bit, I don't want to be the arbiter of anybody's conduct, really, because it's between them and God. And if they want to act in a certain way and behave in a certain way, life will teach them things. If you want to be... make certain decisions and take certain actions, they'll all have consequences. There will all be, a result, a reaction from that action. Nobody gets away scot-free from, taking any kind of actions. And doing nothing is still an action of inaction. So, anyways, we're not to be judges here. We learned that in the 3rd step, but especially here at the end of the 4th step, we're not going to be the judge of anybody's sex conduct. It also helps out in our 5th step. If you're listening to a 5th step, or somebody's listening to yours, they have no right here to give you any kind of input on your sex conduct. I've had mine judged by a sponsor of mine, and it drove me away from him. Because I was having trouble in a relationship and saw somebody else, and he judged me for it. And said that he couldn't sponsor me if I did something like that, and it broke my freaking heart. And I didn't want to talk to anybody about my conduct for a long time because this guy judged me about it. and that really, it really hurt me a lot. So it's a really important thing for me today to make sure that I pass this on to people, that we're not to judge people's sex conduct. It says we all have sex problems. We'd hardly be human if we didn't. What can we do about them? So here we go. It says we reviewed our conduct over the years past. Where had we been selfish, dishonest, or inconsiderate? Whom had we hurt? Did we unjustifiably arouse jealousy, suspicion, or bitterness? Where were we at fault, and what should we have done instead? Okay, now this is not like, make a list of how big of a superstar, porn star dude you are, rock star, or whatever. No one gives a shit about that stuff. That's not important here. We're not trying to fluff your ego. That doesn't matter. You're here because you're sick and dying. We need to get away from that stuff. It's not about that. And if you're in a relationship now, then you put the current relationship. What I did is I put my current relationship, and then the ones prior, I just said prior, because it doesn't matter who or how many or any of that stuff. That it doesn't matter. We're not trying to relive the glory days and any of that stuff. It's gone. The party is over, dude. The party is over. So we just start with that. Where had I been selfish? What does that mean? Let's just look at some examples here. Are you selfish with sex? You demand a certain amount of sex, and when you don't have it, you throw a temper tantrum, or you whatever. Do you do you see other people in order to have that sexual appetite met? Do you consider that selfish? Would you want them to do that? Well, maybe if it's an open thing, okay, cool. Again, you can't be the judge of that. How do you feel about that? How does that really make you feel by doing that? What about, I just work all the time, and so she never gets to see me, but she complains she just wants more time with me. But I just work because I don't want to see her. Well, that's selfish. Dishonest, that's pretty straightforward, but we're talking about more than just stealing things from somebody. Did I say I was going to do something and then not? That's dishonest. Inconsiderate. Come on now. Am I demanding sex even if somebody doesn't want to have that? Am I setting expectations on somebody? That's a big one. Am I setting expectations on my partner? Because you're my partner, I need you to do this and that. That's a big one. Now, did we unjustifiably arouse, blah, blah, blah? We're going to have some yeses on there. I don't know how dig the deep on that. You're welcome to comment or to email me on how incredibly important this is and to help me unpack on that, but I just haven't found that yet. This is the most important part to me. It says, where were we at fault? All right. Was I unfaithful? Did I never come home? Was I bad with the money? Was I verbally abusive? Was I physically abusive? Go down the list of these things. Was I slothful? Did I, go down your list here. This is your inventory. And most importantly of all, what should we have done instead? These are actionable steps. We're not just trying to figure out all the things that are wrong. We're also trying to fix the problem here. So, let's just say you have a problem with being unfaithful. What should you have done instead? I can't answer that for you. I can come up with one proposed solution. Might be to not be unfaithful anymore. If you're bad with money, again, I can't solve the problem for you, but a suggestion might be to learn more about being a good steward of your finances and your time. How, if you're not spending any time at home, how can you get better at managing your time so you can have more time with your family? Can you learn more about that? Do you think they have any books on money management or time management or anger? Or, as we saw earlier in the fourth step, how can I get better on my anger? Review. Go back a couple of episodes if you need to review on the anger thing. So these are the things. This is where our relationship life starts just to transform, because we get to be the person for the people that we love that we always should have been in the first place. And so that's a moving forward, actionable step. And that's it, my friends. That is all on the 4th step. That's all we're putting down. That's it. That is an entire 4th step. It says we got all this down on paper and we looked at it. In this way, we try to shape a sane and sound ideal for our future sex life. Now, I think that that's important as far as, between God and I. Do I think that God wants me to be faithful to the person that I'm with? I don't want to sway you in any kind of way, but it is for me today. I don't want somebody to be unfaithful to me, and whether or not they are is up between them and God, and not me and them. But it is up to me if I'm faithful to them. And when I am, it helps me to give that much more love. And in so doing, the relationship is so much more rewarding to me because I get to give so much more. Does that make sense? I know it's a paradox. Like we feel like we want to be loved, but it's not about getting loved by somebody that's ever going to make you happy. I shouldn't say that I found that makes me happy. What I found is by being honest, by being as selfless as possible, because I'm never going to nail this and be totally selfless, but being as selfless as possible and as considerate as possible, and to not arouse jealousy, suspicion, and bitterness, it helps me to love in the most powerful way possible somebody else. And that in itself is all the reward that I need out of a relationship, because it's intensely satisfying to be in a relationship with somebody that's like that. And to know that I'm capable of giving that and that I do give it is incredibly rewarding, to me. And as a byproduct, they're super freaking happy too. And all those things that I might have been afraid of, of them leaving me or cheating on me or whatever it is, I don't have to worry about that stuff. Because number one, God's in charge, right? I don't have to worry about losing or getting anybody. I know that God's going to provide everything and everyone that I need in my life. And number two, they're just going to be pretty freaking happy, because these are just universal things that everybody wants. Every woman in the world wants somebody that's going to be honest to her, ask around. That's just basic stuff. But yet so many of us cannot be honest because of our selfishness. So, you're talking about some giant changes here. You will increase your relationship value immensely, immeasurably. All right. So we subjected each relation to this test. Was it selfish or not? We asked God to mold our ideals and help us live up to them. We remembered always that our sex powers were God-given and therefore good, neither to be used lightly or selfishly, nor to be despised and loathed. So I'm just going to stick with the big book here. I'm in a total accord with this. I think that I could really make a whole episode just on this one topic, but we're just going to leave it at that. Sex is a natural thing. It's God-given and therefore good. It's how we use it. Am I selfish about my sex? Am I selfless with my sex? Am I somewhere in the middle? These are the questions we got to ask ourselves about it. That's how we grow. Don't just say, oh, all sex is bad, all money's bad, or whatever. It's what you do with it. If you're out here hurting people, as we'll see, you're going to get drunk again. And if you're out there, using it to be intimate and to bring God into a relationship, etc., it's going to be that much better. So, whatever our ideal turns out to be, we must be willing to grow toward it. And again, we ask God to mold our ideals, right? God's molding our ideals, not Instagram or, the hub, God. What is God wanting us to do here? So it says we must be willing to make amends where we've done harm, provided that we do not bring about still more harm in so doing. Now, I want to talk about that for a second. I know we're not on the 8th and the 9th step, but I want to briefly touch base on that. Where it comes to making amends with ex-girlfriends or ex-wives and stuff. I do not go knocking on doors of ex-girlfriends or ex-flings or I don't do that. Because I know that if I'm sitting here and somebody comes to the door and, they want to make amends with, my partner, and they're like, is she home? And I'm like, yeah, who is this? Like, oh, I'm I'm blah blah. I'm her ex-boyfriend. You're like, all right, what's up, dude? He's like, I'm just here to make, I just wanted to apologize to her for this and this and that. I'm like, all right. Yeah, I mean, it's already like, it's kind of messing with my day. Like, why is this guy here? And now I have like a face, and this person to match with whatever kind of stories I might have heard about him. And then you see like maybe they still have some weird chemistry. And so now it screws up, this relationship and stuff. It's causing harm. And that's just not cool. I do not think that that's a good idea. I don't want to cause harm by so doing. Now, I've heard other people say, I met my wife by going out here and by knocking on doors. She'd never gotten over the fact that I was mean to her or whatever. And now we're married for X number of years. I think that's great. I'm just saying, between God and I, he doesn't want me knocking on doors. I've seen people that I've dated while I was running around in my hometown. Whenever I went back to my hometown to see family and whatever, and I I would see somebody around. Like I saw somebody at the gym, and they walked in with a guy, and she saw me and kind of smiled real quick, and then she kind of gave this like don't say anything, like throat wavy kind of thing, like don't say shit kind of thing to me. And I was like, all right, cool. And so we walked by each other, and I acted like I didn't even see him. And so that was the best thing I could do in that moment, is to just say, to do a little smile and then act like I had no idea who they were. Just leave them alone. That's what that was the best thing for me in that situation. Now, of course, is it all the same for all situations? Of course not. That's why we go to God about these things. It says, in meditation, we should ask God what we should do about each specific matter. The right answer will come if we want. So I have not had the opportunity or the nudge to go knock on X's doors. God wants me to leave him the hell alone and not say a word to him, That's where I'm at. And then it says, God alone can judge our sex situation. Counsel with persons is often desirable, but we let God be the final judge. So you can talk to your buddies or your sponsor or whatever, but again, like so many other things that have come up so far, and as we'll see going forward, God is the final judge. We realize that some people are as fanatical about sex as others are loose. We avoid hysterical thinking or advice. Suppose we fall short of the chosen ideal and stumble. Does this mean we're going to get drunk? Some people tell us so, but this is only a half-truth. It depends upon us and our motives. If we're sorry for what we've done and we have an honest desire to let God take us to better things, we believe we'll be forgiven and we will have learned our lesson. Now, that's been my experience. I've fallen short and, hurt somebody else, and it made me not feel good at all. And I did the best I could to make amends and to pray for forgiveness and stuff. And, we're going to fall short. That's just part of it. We strive for spiritual progress rather than spiritual perfection. We're not saints. Remember that. But the fact is that, I don't want to hurt people. We don't want to hurt people. But it says if we're not sorry, like if I'm continuing to run around and hurt people, if I'm not sorry, and it says and our conduct continues to harm others, we're quite sure to drink. We're not theorizing. These are facts out of our experience. So that's pretty important there, right? It's not about necessarily making a mistake or what the act was. It's about their motives. And what are we doing with it? Are we making it right as quickly as possible? And are we stopping that behavior or not? And that's what's going to dictate our sobriety on this topic. So, to sum up, it's about sex. It says, we earnestly pray for the right ideal, for guidance in each questionable situation. This is the sex prayer, as they say. For sanity, and for strength to do the right thing. Now, this is huge. I hear people say, like, I'm a dual diagnosis. I'm an alcoholic and I'm a sex addict. Well, again, man, alcohol is not your problem. You are. A lot of us have a sex issue. That's what we're talking about here. So maybe you can just stick to this Alcoholics Anonymous thing, but whatever. So, but here it is. It says, if sex is very troublesome, we throw ourselves harder into helping others. There you go. Solution. So if it's Friday night and I'm wanting to go stir the town up and go hook up with people and, possibly hurt some more people over my selfishness of wanting to hook up with them, then I need to think about maybe I should go down to, the shelter or, whatever, the homeless place, and take a meeting in, or go to a meeting, or go talk to my family, or go do something else. Do something to help others. Do something besides that. It says we think of their needs and work for them. It takes us out of ourselves. It quiets the imperious urge when to yield would mean heartache. So there you go, man. If you're having a big lust problem, I know we're not on 6th step yet, but if you have this huge trail of dead bodies, per se, of dead relationships, I shouldn't joke around about dead bodies on this, but dead relationships of people you've harmed, and then this is something we really need to look at, about being diligent and vigilant about helping others. If we've been thorough about our personal inventory, we've written down a lot. We've listed and analyzed our resentments. We've begun to comprehend their futility and their fatality. We've commenced to see their terrible destructiveness. We have begun to learn tolerance, patience, and goodwill toward all men, even our enemies, for we look on them as sick people. We've listed the people we've hurt by our conduct and are willing to straighten out the past if we can. In this book, you'll read again and again that faith did for us what we could not do for ourselves. We hope you are convinced now that God can remove whatever self-will has blocked you off from Him. If you've already made a decision, which is the 3rd step, and an inventory of your grosser handicaps, which is this 4th step we just finished, you've made a good beginning. That being so, you've swallowed and digested some big chunks of truth about yourself. So as they promised, the 4th step is going to help us to discover the truth about the stock in trade. So it helps us to discover our truth. For me, I saw that I had really super low self-esteem, and that I was very selfish in, my sex relationships, that I wanted to use people for sex, and that I didn't value them as people, and that I was angry and verbally abusive, and I was really pissed off. I was really pissed off at a lot of people, and that I was afraid. I was afraid of everything, afraid of everybody, afraid of losing everything I have, of not getting everything I want. I was in bad shape, and that's my truth. I found this stuff, and so I hope that this process has been helpful for you. And remember, this is all just on paper. All this stuff is the old you, the you might have been 10 minutes ago, but it's not the you have to be moving forward. So don't beat yourself up about this stuff. This is all the trash we're going to take out. All this stuff's about to be cast out and given away, And so that's why we do all this stuff. Now we have all the truth. Now we can do something about it. So I just got to say, congratulations. If you're done, if you've made it this far, then, you are in really good shape, and you've come a long way. And so the next one we'll be moving into is step 5, which is a pretty straightforward deal. And then steps 6 and 7 come really quick. Then we'll go into steps 8 and 9 for a while, and then we'll do 10 and 11 all in one chapter. So, it seems like, the first, 50 pages or something, it just seems like, when are these steps ever going to come? And it's all helping us to have that first step experience, and to help us to understand why the second step is so necessary, and to lead us to that third step where we have that jumping off point, this big decision where we're giving ourselves to God. And then 4 this is just where we just lay out all the facts and stuff about ourselves. Now we can see them. Now we can see who I am, this man, this woman, whoever you are that's been drinking, and why I've been drinking so much. All this stuff that leads to me wanting to escape from, traumas and resentments and all this different stuff. It's easy to see why you drank now, And so now we're about to move forward and become new people. And so happy you made it this far. I pray for you guys and gals and, everything in between. And I'm glad that you've come this far. And I assure you, to me at least, whenever I was going through these steps, the hardest part is behind us now. From here on out, we'll be moving on to greener pastures, and I look so forward to teaching you guys about Into Action. It is a super, super jam-packed, massively important chapter. Again, with steps 5 through 11, all in one chapter. And there's a lot of content in there, so I look forward to teaching you guys about it. So again, if you have any questions about any of this stuff, I know the 4-step can be kind of tricky. You can email me at drbenaa@gmail.com. You can comment, you can whatever. Or again, you can always ask somebody in your local AA. You can go to 4-step workshops. Now, they might be a little bit different. Is the way I taught you the perfect way to do it? If you don't do it my way, you're not going to get sober? No. It's just the best way, the most efficient way that I've found. It's the closest to the big book that I can get it. And it's helped a heck of a lot of my sponsees out. And they continue to teach it this way, and it helps their sponsees out as well. So, I'm pretty sure there's really nothing else that needs to be done to it. And if you have any tips or suggestions, by all means, again, email me. So it's been a pleasure going over this 4-step with you. Thank God it's finally over and we can move on. So I'll see you all in the next episode. God bless you.